She only knew that the woman was struggling. She only knew that the stroller wheel had caught in the crack of the sidewalk, and the baby inside was starting to cry. Mara Sutton did not think about it. She just reached down. The mother, young, maybe 22, a diaper bag slipping off one shoulder and a paper coffee cup tilting dangerously in her free hand, looked up with the particular expression of someone who had been invisible all morning, surprised that a stranger had stopped, surprised that anyone had noticed at all. "I've got it," Mara said, and she did. She lifted the front wheels over the crack, steadied the stroller on the flat concrete, and stepped back. "Thank you," the young mother said. "Thank you so much." Mara smiled and kept walking. She did not know who was watching. Arthur Graywell had been standing outside the post office for 4 minutes, not because he was waiting for anyone, not because he had forgotten anyone, not because he had forgotten where he parked. He was standing there because his left knee had decided, sometime around his 63rd birthday, that stairs and uneven pavement and anything below 40 degrees Fahrenheit were its personal enemies, and this particular Tuesday morning was 38 degrees, and the sidewalk in front of him had a seam running through it like a fault line. He was also carrying a box. Not a large box, but a heavy one, filled with documents his firm needed sent by 2 o'clock, the kind of package you could not drop or the entire afternoon would unravel with it. Arthur Graywell was the senior partner at Graywell & Associates, a litigation firm that had operated in this city for 27 years. He had argued cases before the state Supreme Court. He had negotiated settlements that made headlines. He had worn the same dark wool coat every November through March for the better part of a decade, and he wore it. Now, the collar turned up against the wind, a box in his arms and one knee that would not cooperate. He was not the kind of man who asked for help. He was standing there deciding whether to accept that fact about himself when Mara Sutton walked past, saw his face, and stopped. She did not know his name. She did not know what was in the box, or what the deadline was, or that the documents inside represented 3 months of her own future, though she had no way of knowing that part yet. She saw a man in his 60s with a careful expression and a heavy box and a sidewalk that was not doing him any favors. "Can I carry that for you?" she asked. Arthur looked at her. She was perhaps 30. Maybe a little older, in a coat that had seen better winters and shoes that were practical, rather than chosen. She had a canvas tote on one shoulder and the calm, direct manner of someone who meant exactly what she said. "I'm fine," he said, which was what he always said. "I'm sure you are," Mara said pleasantly, "but I'm going that way anyway." She nodded toward the post office door. "It would just be easier. It would just be easier." He looked at her for another moment. There was nothing in her face that suggested pity. That was the thing. She was not looking at him the way people sometimes looked at him lately, with that particular softness around the eyes that he had come to recognize and quietly resent. She was just looking at him the way one person looks at another person on a cold morning when there is a practical problem and a practical solution. He handed her the box. It was heavier than it looked. He watched her adjust the weight, shift it to both arms, and she did not flinch and she did not comment on it. "Post office?" she said. "Counter on the left," he said. "It needs to go overnight." They went inside together. Mara carried the box to the counter. Arthur stood beside her and gave the clerk the account number from memory, which he had memorized 12 years ago and never once needed to look up. The clerk printed the label. Mara set the box down carefully. "Thank you," Arthur said. "Of course," she said, and she stepped aside to let the next person in line move forward. And that was when he noticed she did not actually have anything to mail. She had just come in to help him. He stood with his receipt in his hand and watched her push through the glass door and back out into the cold. And for a moment he was not a senior partner, or a litigator, or a man with a bad knee and a 2 o'clock deadline. He was just a man standing in a post office, holding a piece of paper, thinking about the fact that a stranger had come inside a building. She had no reason to enter, just to make sure he did not drop a box. He went outside after her. She was already halfway down the block. "Excuse me," he called. She turned. He walked to her carefully, and when he reached her, he said, "I didn't get your name." "Mara," she said. "Arthur," he said. He did not offer his last name, which was unusual for him. He offered his hand instead. She shook it. "Can I ask," he said, "where you're headed?" She paused and something moved across her face, not embarrassment exactly, but a kind of careful thinking. "The library," she said. "On 5th, that's 4 blocks." He spoke. "I know," she said. "In this cold." "I don't mind the cold," she said. And then, because she was apparently a person who did not leave things half said, she added, "I'm between buses right now. The pass ran out." He nodded slowly. "Would you like to get a cup of coffee?" he said. "There's a place just there." He pointed to the diner on the corner with the fogged-up windows and the hand-painted sign that had been there since, before he started practicing law. "As a thank you." She looked at the diner. Then she looked at him. "You don't have to do that," she said. I know, he said. She considered it for a moment, and then she said, all right. The diner was called Peltzer's, and it smelled like coffee and warm bread, and the particular brand of calm that old diners carry like furniture. They took a booth by the window. A woman in her 50s brought them 2 mugs without asking and set a small pitcher of cream between them. Arthur ordered toast. Mara ordered nothing, which he noticed. Please, he said. Order something, I insist. She looked at the menu for a moment. The oatmeal, she said quietly. He told the waitress to bring 2. They sat with their coffee and he asked her about the library, which turned out to be where she went, most mornings not to borrow books, though she did that, too, but because it had free internet access and a quiet room where she could work on applications without anyone bothering her. What kind of applications? He asked. Jobs, she said simply. I was laid off about 5 months ago. Office manager for a medical group. They restructured. She said it the way people say things they have said many times, the words worn smooth from repetition. I've had some interviews. Nothing that's turned into anything yet. What kind of work are you looking for? She told him. She was organized, she said, methodically, almost apologetically, the way people describe themselves when they are worried. It sounds boring. She was good with people and better with systems. She had managed a staff of 14 and a budget that would have made some small businesses nervous. She said all of this matter-of-factly, not to impress him, just to answer his question. He listened. The oatmeal came, and she ate it with the particular attention of someone who had not had a full meal recently. She did not rush. She did not make it obvious. But he noticed the way she ate every bite, and the way she folded her napkin precisely when she was finished, and the way she did not let any of it show on her face. Do you have family here? He asked. She shook her head. My sister is in Phoenix. My mother passed 2 years ago. A pause. It's just me, he nodded. What about you? She asked. Do you live nearby? Not far, he said. I've been in this neighborhood a long time. She looked out the window. A man walked past with a small dog that was wearing a coat almost identical to the one Arthur was wearing, and she almost smiled. Can I ask you something? She said. Of course. Why did you come after me? Outside the post office, she looked at him directly. Most people would have just said thank you and gone back to their car. He was quiet for a moment. He was not a man who answered questions carelessly, which was useful in his profession and sometimes difficult in his personal life. Because, he said finally, you went into that building with nothing to mail. And most people don't do that. He set down his mug. I've been practicing law for 31 years, and in that time I have learned to notice when someone does something with no calculation behind it. It's rarer than you'd think. She looked at him steadily. I just didn't want you to drop the box, she said. I know, he said. That's what I mean. They sat in that booth for 1 hour and 10 minutes, which Arthur Graywell knew precisely because he was a man who kept track of time the way other men kept track of money. He did not resent the hour. He could not remember the last time an hour had passed that quickly. When they stood to leave, he helped her on with her coat, which was the kind of automatic thing he had done his whole life without thinking, and he paid the check without discussion, and he held the door. And they stood on the sidewalk in the cold. Thank you for the oatmeal, she said. Thank you for the box, he said. She laughed, which was the first time he had heard it, and it was a good laugh. Unguarded and real and over before she seemed to realize she was doing it. Good luck with the interviews, he said. Thank you, she said. Good luck with your knee, he blinked. You were favoring it, she said simply. Left side. You should probably see someone about that. She turned and walked toward the library, her canvas tote on one shoulder, her coat buttoned against the wind, and she did not look back because she was that kind of person. He stood there in the cold for a moment, not moving. Then he took out his phone. His assistant's name was Roger, and Roger had been with him for 11 years and was accustomed to calls that began without preamble. Roger, Arthur said, I need you to look into something. Of course, Mr. Graywell, what do you need? There's a position. Office Operations Manager, the one Judith left in September. A pause. We haven't posted it yet. I know we haven't posted it yet, Arthur said. I need the job description on my desk by this afternoon. Another pause. Roger had learned not to ask certain questions. I'll have it there by 3. Arthur put the phone in his pocket and started walking back to his car. His knee ached and the wind had picked up and the sky was the particular gray that meant more cold was coming. And he was thinking about a woman in a worn coat who had carried a box into a building she had no reason to enter. He was also thinking about what she had said. I just didn't want you to drop the box. No calculation, no angle. Just a person who saw a problem and decided, without ceremony, to help. He had built a career on understanding human motivation. 31 years of reading witnesses and opposing counsel and clients who thought they were hiding things. He was rarely wrong about people. He was not wrong about her. He did not call her that week because he did not have her number and she had not offered it, and he was not about to manufacture a reason to find it. He was 63 years old and a senior partner, and he was not going to behave like a man who did not know how to wait. But he thought about it. He thought about it. When he reviewed the job descriptions Roger left on his desk, which was thorough and accurate, and described a role that Mara Sutton was, by any measurable standard, qualified to fill, he thought about it when his office manager, Pauline, mentioned that she had 3 more weeks before her sabbatical, and the temporary they'd hired was already struggling. He thought about it when he drove past the public library on 5th Street on a Thursday afternoon and did not stop, because stopping would have been strange. He thought, she went into a building she had no reason to enter. He thought, that is the rarest thing. On Friday morning, he called the library. He did not ask for her by name. He asked whether they had public postings of any kind, bulletin boards or community boards, and the librarian told him yes. There was a board near the entrance, and people left their contact information there for various purposes. He thanked her and hung up. He was at the library by 10 o'clock. The board was there, the kind of thing you stopped seeing after a while, covered in index cards and torn flyers. He scanned it slowly. Near the bottom left, a small card, neat handwriting, blue ink, Mara Sutton, office management, admin operations, staff coordination, 5 years senior experience, available immediately, references upon request. Below that, a phone number. He took a photograph with his phone and left. When Mara Sutton picked up on the second ring, her voice was careful, the way it gets when you have been waiting for calls that have not come. "Miss Sutton," he said, "this is Arthur Graywell. We met outside the post office on Tuesday. A beat." "The box," she said. "The box," he said. "Mr. Graywell." He could hear her sit up slightly, or something in her voice that was the equivalent of sitting up. "How did you?" "You left a card at the library," he said. "I hope that's all right." "I did," she said slowly. "Yes, that's all right. I'm a senior partner at a litigation firm," he said. "Graywell and Associates on Carver Street. We have an opening for an operations manager. The position has been vacant since September. I'd like you to come in and speak with us if you're interested." Silence. He waited. "Is this because of the box?" she said. It was a fair question, and she deserved a straight answer. "It's because," she said, "in 31 years of practice I have interviewed a great many people, and most of them are performing. You were not performing. You were just doing what you thought was right, without waiting to see if it was worth your while." He paused. "That is a quality that does not appear on a resume, and I am past the age of pretending it isn't the most important quality there is." She was quiet for a long time. "Tuesday at 10, he said. "If that works." "It works," she said. "She is 7 minutes early," which he knew because Pauline mentioned it. She was wearing the same coat, or one very like it, but her shoes were different. Careful. Professional. The kind of detail that said she had prepared without overreaching. She shook hands with Pauline and said something that made Pauline laugh, which was not a small thing. Pauline had been with the firm for 19 years and was not easily charmed. The interview lasted 40 minutes. Arthur asked her about the medical group, about the restructuring, about how she had managed a team of 14 people with different personalities and different thresholds for patience. She answered everything. Directly. When she did not know something, she said so. When she disagreed with a question's premise, she said that too, politely, without apology. He asked her what she thought made a workplace function well. She thought about it. "People feeling like their time matters," she said. "Their time and their effort. When people feel like the work they do disappears into nothing, like no one tracks it, no one acknowledges it, they stop caring. And you can't run anything on people who've stopped caring." He nodded once. He hired her 3 days later. She was good at the job. That was not a surprise. What surprised him, though it should not have, was the specific way she was good at it. She noticed things. Not the large things, which anyone could notice, but the things at the edges. The junior, edgy associate who stayed late every Thursday and never mentioned it. The copy room printer that was one bad cartridge away from failing at the worst possible moment. The supply orders that had been going to the wrong vendor for 4 months because no one had updated the account after a merger. She fixed things quietly. No announcement. No request for recognition. The problem existed. She solved it. She moved on. After 6 weeks, Pauline came into his office and said, "I want to say something before I leave for my sabbatical." "All right," he said. "That woman is a find," Pauline said. "I don't know where you found her, and I'm not sure I want to know. But she is a find, Arthur, and you should pay her what she's worth before someone else figures that out." He already had. 4 months into the job on a Thursday in late March, Mara knocked on his office door. "Do you have 5 minutes?" she said. "Sit down," he said. She sat. She had a folder in her lap, which was not unusual, but she was not opening it, which was. "I want to say something," she said. "All right, when you called me," she said, After the post office, I thought it was chance. Or kindness. I wasn't sure which. She looked at him steadily. I've been here 4 months now, and I understand this place well enough to know that you don't do things by chance. You don't make a call like that because you were moved by a moment. She paused. So I want to understand what you saw. He was quiet. You can tell me. Honestly, she said. I'm not fragile. He believed her. I saw someone, he said slowly, who did something difficult. She frowned slightly. I carried a box. You stopped, he said. That's the difficult part. Most people don't stop. They see something, someone struggling, something that needs doing, and they make the calculation in about half a second. Is this my problem? Will this cost me anything? Will it change anything if I do it? And most of the time the answer they arrive at is no. Not my problem. Not worth the cost. He looked at her. You didn't make that calculation. You just stopped. She was quiet for a long moment. I had nowhere to be, she said finally. That's not why, he said gently. She looked down at the folder in her lap. Outside, the last of the winter was in the gutters, dark and watery, and the trees on Carver Street were starting to think about whether to bother with leaves again. My mother used to say, Mara said quietly, that the only way you really know what someone is made of is to watch what they do when no one's looking, when there's nothing in it for them. She smoothed the edge of the folder. She said most people are decent enough when it's easy. It's the small, inconvenient moments that tell you. She was right, Arthur said. I know, she said. I just didn't know anyone was watching. He said nothing to that. She opened the folder and set 3 pages on his desk. Vendor analysis. She had found another redundancy in the billing cycle that would save the firm approximately $4,000 a quarter. Whenever you have time, she said and stood. She was almost to the door when he said, Mara. She turned. Your mother was right, he said, about what people are made of. He looked at her. For what it's worth, I was watching, and you were exactly what she would have wanted you to be. She held his gaze for a moment. Then she nodded once the way she did when something was finished, and she went back to work. He wrote her a letter, not an email, a letter on firm stationery, handwritten, which he had not done for anyone in a long time. He left it in an envelope on her desk on a Friday afternoon after she had gone for the day, and he did not mention it Monday, and she did not mention it Monday, and that was how they both preferred it. He did not know if she read it that night or that weekend or the following week. He knew only that the following Monday there was a small thing on the corner of his desk. A single peppermint, wrapped in silver foil, the kind that came in the bowl by the reception desk. It meant nothing. It meant everything. It was the kind of thing you did when words were insufficient and you did not want to be insufficient. He left it there for 3 days before he finally unwrapped it. It tasted exactly like he thought it would.